Hello, my good friends. I haven't made a recording in a while um, because I haven't had time, but I've got a lot of questions put to me, and some of them the answers are in some of our prior recordings. But one that I think we could talk about today is about two by two reforms or the reformers. So there are actually a substantial number of people who are involved in the two by twos or adjacent to the two by twos who are trying to reform the two by twos. Now, in fact, there is a private internet forum called Connected and Concerned Friends. That's a two by two forum. I don't know if they got 4, 5,000, 6,000 people on it, or users rather, and some of these people are ex two by twos who haven't been involved with two by twos for a long time, but I think the majority of them are actual two by twos. And these people are looking for reforms of the two by two system, two by two cult. Now, what kind of reforms? Why do they want reforms? Da 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 da. All those things. Well, I'll try to give some information about that. So the main driver of why these people are on this forum or why they're thinking about reforms is about the child sexual assault. Okay, so it's in the media. There was a BBC article a few weeks ago, and there's a bunch of other articles from other news agencies. There's been television documentaries. I mean, it's enormous. I think I've been told there are over 700 uh, perpetrators have been identified by an investigations team in the last 12 months alone. And so these two by twos who are involved in this reform movement, they are greatly concerned about this child sexual assault, and they want it to stop. Well, obviously, I think some of them want to stop because they're appalled that their ministers, their elders, supposedly great people in their community are having sex with children. But I think there's also an issue about them feeling ashamed, okay, that this is going on in their midst. So a little bit of justice, they want justice, but also I think they're ashamed. And why do I say this about the shame? Because for many years, two by twos would pride themselves on the fact that the Catholics have all those priests who've been screwing kids. And well, the two by twos don't have that. That shows you right there that the two by twos are correct. Okay, so you've got to always remember that that for two by twos, they position themselves as the opposite of Catholics. Okay, so if there's anything bad they can say about Catholics, that's where they're going to go. And to find out that it turns out that the two by two system has orders of magnitude more kid screwers than the Catholic priests, it's quite a shocker. Okay, quite a shocker. So that's what I'm saying. They feel ashamed. There's an ashamed issue and there's a justice issue. Okay. So what kind of reforms are they looking for? Well, obviously, their main reform is to stop the kid screwing. So here's the issue. It's already illegal, okay? It's already illegal to do these things. It's been illegal for a very long time. So how is like you're going to stop this if it's been going on when it's illegal? Well, the issue is these reformers think they just need to put in some policies. They just need to get the two by two ministers to sign some documents that say they won't have sex with children, and therefore it will stop everything. It will stop this CSA. Well, of course, that's has nothing to do with it. I mean, there's been no deterrent in the past because I mean it's the same deterrence in the past. It was illegal then, it's illegal now. How is signing a paper saying you won't do it going to be more of a deterrent? That's nothing to do with it, right? That's the height of the foolishness of these people. The second is some of them think that if they would just get these ministers and the elders to be educated that having sex with children is a bad idea, that it would stop. As if, yeah, that's the issue all along. They've somehow, of course, yes, these people in the past, these two by two ministers in the past, if they had known that it was bad idea to do this, they wouldn't have done it. I mean, that is the absolute foolishness of some of these reformers. Okay, This is how naive they are. They don't understand the depth of the problem. They don't understand what kind of people they're dealing with. So I will tell you, there's actually there's other kinds of reformers in there. And these ones I'd say they're basically ashamed to be 2x2s. Now, they're ashamed about the kid screwing stuff, but they're actually ashamed about something else. And that is, they probably have friends at work or something like that who are not 2x2s. And they're ashamed to be open with their friends about their 2x2 beliefs. I mean, how do you really tell your coworker that you have a friendly relationship that you think they're going to hell because they're not a 2x2? I mean, everybody who's not a 2x2 is going to hell. How could you? I mean, that's 2x2 policy. So how are you going to do that, right? Like, so, and there's a bunch of other 2x2 rules. You know, the women aren't supposed to wear pants or whatever. All these crazy rules they've got that some of these 2x2 members are ashamed of these rules. They think that the 2x2 system cult is, it just needs to be more progressive. It needs to get with the times, get with the current year. Okay, so they want to feel more comfortable. They still want to be a 2x2, but they just want to feel, not so ashamed of some of these really outlandish ideas of that 2x2s have. Now, okay. I mean, the thing is, the number of reformers in a 2x2 system relative to the number of 2x2s, the number of reformers is actually pretty small. Pretty small. I mean, the average age within 2x2s is a very old person. Okay. Okay. They're very old. And they've been in it for, 60 plus years. And they're not interested in having their life turned upside down. It's easier for these older people to just keep the head in the sand and keep on going to meetings and know that you're the only one who's going to be going to heaven and all this other nonsense, right? Keep wearing no pants. So the idea that somehow these reformers are going to be reforming things is not possible. I mean, in all cases, every movement that ever happened in this planet, the most extreme people are the people who actually run the movements, because they're the people who are most committed. Now, these reformers are not really committed to the 2x2 system, as you can find out. They're being swayed. And so the leadership of the 2x2s, the top overseers and royalty, they know all they have to do is just wait for this storm cloud of protest to peter out, and they will move on, or whatever they do, go back to whatever they're doing, and everything will go back to normal. There won't be any more calls for reform. And that is basically what's happening. Some of the reform people have just figured out, like, well, yeah, it's been 700 perpetrators identified, but you're only getting like another 50 per month now being identified. So it's not like in the beginning when it was like 200 or 300 per month being identified. So yeah, I must have found most of them now. So now, yeah, we can move on. Yeah. Or there's other ones who reformers who think, okay, I'm just going to have to stop going to the meetings. Okay, so they're going to leave. Okay, well that's what I expected. I expected that maybe a third of the reformers would stop going to meetings. Now, but let's just assume for a second that the reformers actually were successful in getting some reforms. But this is just a theoretical argument, because I know they're never going to happen. But let's just say it was possible. And this is why I'm addressing this podcast to these reformers, to show you how foolish your concept of reform is. So, to actually make the changes to kind of reform the 2x2 system, there's a number of things that would have to happen. Absolutely have to happen. The first is you'd have to change the organizational structure of the 2x2 system. You would have to get a legal entity, okay, that's a non-profit entity. You'd have to have financial transparency. You'd have to have clearly delineated lines of authority and responsibility. You'd have to have a clearly independent redress mechanism to deal with issues of need to be redressed, right? Appeals and things like that. You're going to need to have proper training of your leaders, of your ministers. Okay, all of these types of things. Okay, what would that mean? In short, it would mean the complete end of the 2x2 system, because what would happen is that as you implement these reforms, you would get the 2x2 system get exposed to outside ideas. And these 2x2s would start to realize that their theology, that is, what they think the truth, the way is actually not scriptural, not biblical. In fact, it's heretical, that it's a huge aberration from Christianity, that you're off on a far, far planet from reality. And that would be very destabilizing, okay? And that would cause a massive run on the bank, so to speak. So you can't ever get those reforms without destroying the whole 2x2 system. What are you going to say? Yeah, we'll make our group into basically a mainstream Christian theology, but we'll still meet in homes. Pretty soon people will figure out they actually want to learn about Christianity. So you're going to say, how can we get ministers who actually know something about Christianity to teach us about Christianity? Because your ministers don't know anything because they're untrained. So once you realize, like, wow, we're no different than any other group in terms of going to heaven or not going to heaven. We're not this exclusivity stuff is nonsense. Then you're going to say, well, it makes no difference if I go to meetings or if I go to, I don't know, the Lutheran church and listen to the Lutheran pastor. And then you'll find out, going to Lutheran pastor, wow, that guy knows a lot of stuff, right? He's pretty informative about Christianity, whereas listening to the 2x2 ministers knew nothing. That's the issue. If your 2x2 system gets rid of the exclusivity doctrine, which is what would happen if you implement reforms, you would inevitably lose the whole 2x2 system. And so that is why the people at the top of the 2x2 system are never going to do reforms. Never. And especially the 2x2 royalty, whose money is coming from this system. I mean, it's a big scam, Ponzi scheme, so to speak. It's a big, multi-level marketing outfit. They are never going to allow this. Okay? So that this is what's so crux of it for these reformers. They do not understand that there is no reforms coming. First of all, because they're too small in number relative to the total 2x2 population. Second, because the 2x2 population is, the median age is very, very old and not interested in reforms. And that's where all the money is going to come from, is from the old people when they die. And thirdly, if you tried to implement reforms, you would destroy the whole bag. No, the better idea from the perspective of the leadership is for the reformers to just shut up or go away, and we'll try to fill their empty seats with some new suckers. Whether we get those suckers in the developing world or whatever, new immigrants who don't know up from down, or whatever. But that's what's going to happen. That is the future of the reforms in the 2x2 system. So I hope you reformers stop wasting your time and instead start working on yourselves to go and get yourselves sorted out in terms of what Christianity is and get yourself ensconced in an actual legitimate Christian church.